with that, and so I can get off the stage right here, I'd like to introduce Noel Williams. And so Dr. Noel Williams is a native of Texas. He graduated from Angelo State University with a BS in animal science, obtained his master's degree in animal nutrition from Purdue, and a PhD in animal nutrition from Iowa State University. His first job out of school was a research associate at Iowa State University, which led then to a job at Land O'Lakes in Fort Dodge, Iowa as a swine nutrition manager. He was responsible for technical service and product development. In 2002, Noel joined PIC as a technical service director, ended up graduating into a director of technical services and marketing for PIC, and eventually the general manager for PIC in the Americas before joining Iowa Select Farms in 2012. And so, in his current role as Chief Operating Officer, Noel's responsible for the daily operations of the business at Iowa Select Farms, which runs about approximately 240,000 sows in 800 different facilities. So Noel resides in Iowa Falls with his wife and 7 children, and we're lucky enough to have 2 of them here with our program as master's and PhD students. Noel has a wide experience, not only in the swine industry, but gives a lot back to his community, to his church, and is a really, really great person because of that as well, too. And so, if you don't mind, let's welcome Noel to the stage, and he'll be talking a little bit about achieving high production in the pig-dense area.
Thanks, Joel. Yeah, I wonder why I'm here. First of all, Kansas State's a great institution. I'm peers with, or about the same age as Steve and Mike, a little older, a little younger than maybe Bob, a little older than Joel and Woody. But so I'm a nutritionist by trade and training. So I've always had great respect for the Kansas State Animal Science Department. The nutrition program here is, I believe, the best nutrition program in the world, even though I am from Iowa. They do have a tremendous program. Actually, I have 2 of my sons that go to Kansas State. One's a PhD candidate, one's a master's candidate. I actually brought another one of my sons here with me. He works when he's not going to school at Iowa State, works for me there at Iowa Select, and brought another young man that works for us at Iowa Select. So got a good connection with K-State, really appreciate what the guys do and the opportunities that they've given Bo and Hayden and all the students that they talk about. Tremendous contribution to the industry. Well, Woody emailed me and asked me if I would talk. He gave me the title, and so Clayton's gone. So he knocked on Iowa enough during his presentation, so I'll try to defend Iowa a little bit. So he gave me the title, and he said, would you come down? I said, yeah, it'd be a good chance to see the kids and things. He said, well, we'd give you an honorarium. And I said, no, I'd come down. He said, well, we'll buy you a meal. I said, no, I'll have supper with the kids, and you don't have to worry about that. And then, well, we'll get you a hotel room. No, I'll stay with one of my kids. I'll do this. It's an honor to come down here. And you don't have to pay me nothing, no hotel room or anything. So, but you get what you pay for. So it's free. So, no, I enjoy talking about pigs and listen to other people talk about pigs, and enjoyed the presentation this morning. We'll talk a little bit about what we do at Iowa Select and how we do some things. I'll say up front that we certainly don't have all the answers, but I'll share a little bit about what we do. So a little bit of background on Iowa Select Farms. It is a family-owned business. It was started in 1992, at least the pig production part was started in 1992 by Jeff Hansen and his wife Deb. They started out in the equipment business about 10 years prior to when they started in pigs. Started the equipment business in their garage, sold hog, poultry equipment. Jeff was on the forefront of construction of some of the large layer complexes in Iowa and saw an opportunity to get into pig production and started the pig business in Iowa Select Farms in 1992. and his family, which is pictured up there as well, are involved in the business today. So I think what Jeff saw in Iowa, he's from central Iowa, a lot of the things that are attractive about Iowa, in terms of low input price, access to packing plants, and those packing plants have been there since he started the business, and we continue to grow the number of packing plants there. The relationship with local farmers from a sustainability standpoint and the utilization of manure and those nutrients back on the crop ground, and just committed to Iowa. We'll talk a little bit about our footprint, but he's committed to Iowa, and he's especially committed to rural Iowa. He gives back tremendously to that. And so a little bit of the background from about 1993 to 2000, which was really kind of the first wave of integration throughout the United States. He built a system from 93 to 2000 up to about 150,000 sows. At that time, a lot of consolidation. Other systems, Premium Standard Farms, Smithfield, and the various companies that are part of Smithfield now, Prestige, Seaboard, kind of all expanded at the same times. And that was when you saw the real first wave of integration of the pork production business. Built all the infrastructure associated with that. One of the unique things about Iowa Select is Jeff or the family or the business owns the majority of the facilities. We own all of our sow farms. We own about 90% of our nursery and finishing spaces, a little bit different than the contract model that other people may utilize. I'm not saying what's good or bad. I enjoyed Grant's presentation on how they interact with their contract growers. I'm just saying that our business model is a little bit different. And the connection with rural Iowa there. So that was from about 2000. I'll give you a little bit more history. Today, we have 240,000 sows. We're the largest family-owned pork producer in the United States. We've got about 800 farms total, give or take. And every one of them, except one, is in the state of Iowa. We have one sow farm out in western, well, I guess how you call western Nebraska, probably central Nebraska, but western for people from Iowa, that we have kind of acquired over time. So everything's all located in Iowa. We got about 1,200 employees and about 650 independent contractors that do services and take care of pigs for us. When we talk about what our mission is and how we do things on a day-to-day basis, this is what we talk about. Number one, we're a production company. We don't own any packing facilities. We're not involved in processing. We have tremendous relationships with the customers that we do have. However, we're not involved in any ownership. And as such, we're a production company. Grant talked about risk management, and we got to be good at production because that's how we make money. And for us to be good at production, number one, we've got to take care of our animals. And when we take care of our animals, it's not only taking care of it to maximize production efficiency, we want to ensure that we have the best animal well-being program in the industry. We have a team of about 8 people that are involved in that process that either set the guidelines, audit, and train for those guidelines. We're very committed to that. We want to take care of our animals. We want to take care of our people. We got 1,800, 1,900 people involved in our business. There's a lot of different ways to take care of the people, whether it be from a compensation standpoint. We want to be competitive in compensation, incent people, challenge people through incentives and bonus programs. We want to take care of our people, and we want to develop a culture with our people that they want to be a part of Iowa Select and be a part of something bigger in terms of our business. We take care of the environment and take care of our farms. We're very committed to do things right from an environmental standpoint. It's essential in today's business to go above and beyond when it comes to environmental management. It's not really compliance, it's management. We need to maximize the nutrients that we produce from our farms. We need to minimize nitrogen runoff and nitrogen usage. We need to be stewards of the environment. So it's not just compliance. We need to take care of our environment. And we take care of our communities in our state. We are Iowa Select Farms. Jeff and his family and the whole company does a tremendous amount to give back to the state, to the communities in various efforts. So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Where are we at? We're located in Iowa. We're going to have a footprint of about 55 counties. Miss, please. Where do I put the clicker? Oh, right there. Sorry. And I know, so we're in a footprint of about 55,000 counties, and it's 55 counties, and it's really the central part of the state that we're in. We do go some up into northwest Iowa, but we don't get much over into eastern Iowa. Clayton showed you this picture. You know, this is the density of swine operations located in Iowa according to our environmental compliance agency, the DNR of Iowa. This was in 2016. They update this map up in about every 2 years. When they update it for 2018, there's not going to be a lot of dots gone away. There's going to be dots added because we've seen a tremendous amount of growth within the state of Iowa. We'll talk a little bit about what we've done on the south side, primarily finishing with the increase in packing capacity within Iowa. There's a lot of pigs in Iowa. So I wanted to talk a little bit about biosecurity, but I want to give you a little bit of background on our health history within Iowa Select. So from 1993 to about 2013, over that 20-year period, as the concentration of Iowa grew, it was a mixed bag of health issues. I would say the strategy in terms of PERS management was to live with PERS. Tried various ways to manage that, whether it be live vaccines, or live virus vaccines, every different way you can think of to try and enter Gilts. Mixed results. But if you go back and look at our history, the bottom line was 60 to 90% of our sow farms had some form of wild-type introduction of PERS annually. So that was our history. And given year, 40% of those farms had more than one introduction of PERS. So that's what we were, that's where we lived, and we tried to manage it the best way we could. The other thing that is the reality in Iowa, in PERS season in Iowa lasts from January to December. People talk about the fall and different times of year when it's foggy. It's indiscriminate in Iowa. It doesn't look at the calendar. It's not seasonal. So when we talk about our PERS strategy, we went back, looked at our data, and we're just as likely to have a wild-type introduction of PERS in June when it's hot as we are in October and November when we're pumping manure and the winter comes in. So that's the reality of where we lived in. I think the thing that dramatically changed our business, or I know changed our business, was in 2013 with the introduction of PED into North America. So remember this vividly. It was in May of 2013, May 15th. We got a phone call from a sow farm manager 10 miles east of the Iowa Falls office. Has managed sow farm for Iowa Select for 20 years. Had a little bit of scours in the farrowing house, but it was different. Looked a little bit different. Plus, it was affecting older pigs, which typically scours affect young pigs. Didn't think much about it. May 16, some more scours. And then May 17th, went out there and the whole farrowing house was scouring. I can remember at that time, actually it was Joe Connor, who kind of led a couple of conference calls. It was on a Saturday, talking about what PED was, the impact of PED, and some of that it was new. And we had one of the first cases confirmed within the United States there at Sow 11 there in that May. What did we do? Really shut the farm down, kind of did what you did when you cleaned up for TGE, didn't enter Gilts into the farm. Farm went back to normal in about 7 weeks. This was during the summer. We got gilts going back in early October, kind of got over it. You know, we saw a handful of cases, most likely in finishing during that summer. Some scours in finishing, but we didn't really associate that with PED. So we didn't have any other sow farms have any issues during that summer into the early fall. So our thoughts were, you know, PED, we thought we could manage it similar to TGE. You know, it might come into some finishing, it may come into a sow farm or two. It was a little more difficult to clean up than TGE, but we felt like we could manage it. We started to hear that fall about other regions of the country and the dramatic increases that were happening, but still kind of had the mindset that we were going to manage through it. Then came October 20th, week 43 there that fall. We had 3 farms, basically 100% scouring. It was on a Sunday. The 22nd, 2 more, then 6 more. We had 25 positive sow farms there by week 48, all in central Iowa. Within about a 40-mile radius of Iowa Falls, we have 100,000 sows, 28 sow farms, and it spread through all of those farms. We also have another pot of production down in southern Iowa. Right after the first of the year, 2014, we got it into that pod down there and broke every farm that we had in the system with PED. So what did we do? I mean, it's not anything unique. It's what a lot of people did. We got diligent, didn't enter any guilt, shut the farms down, cleaned, whitewashed. We experimented with some PED vaccine. So we had to clean the farms up, and that was every farm that we had in the system. I think we did a lot of biosecurity changes. I think the 2 things I want to talk about a little bit. One, we really changed what we did from a feed sourcing standpoint. A lot of the work that the guys here at Kansas State have done, Cassie has done. We segregated our feed mills. We took and had always historically taken sow and grow finish feed or growing pig feed from the same farm. We split that out, really concentrated on the ingredient inputs, and I think the segregation of the feed mills helped, and we continue that model today. We can talk about FAD later and some of the new changes that might encompass, but we also utilized a mitigating agent, sow curb, and I know there's research out of Kansas State in terms of, you know, maybe some detrimental nutritional impact and the efficacy, but we've been committed to a mitigating agent in our feed. We utilize sow curb since 2013, and I can tell you we'll continue that. We're committed to it. We believe it's helped, and so we are committed to that. We really cleaned up our transport, and what we did, every internal truck and trailer that we move a pig on, a sow on, a replacement gilt on, gets washed, disinfected, and dried after every load. So we had to dramatically change the infrastructure of our transport system. We had to buy additional trucks, additional trailers. We built an additional truck wash. We built 3 dryers. And so we invested heavily in the transport system to be able to ensure that we were mitigating as much risk as possible from a transport standpoint. I feel good about our program, never 100%, but we invested in that. The other thing that we did to try and mitigate risk from bringing it back from a packing plant, we hire unloaders for our market hogs at the various packing plants or most of the plants to try and keep our truck drivers out of market hog trailers. The other thing that we did, I think, at that time was helpful, and I think continues to be helpful today. We dramatically changed how we do nutrient application. We created a tiered system of point of entry for our applicators. So we have different levels of health status of farms, and we send different applicators to different health status, similar to what you would maybe for gilts, for feed trucks, or people. So for you to enter our system as an applicator, you have to be identified, you have to have training, You have to ensure that your equipment is clean before it comes onto our sites. It's inspected by the sow farm manager or the finished site manager. That's make sure it's clean and disinfected. And we've done a tremendous time and investment to make sure that we instill and have discipline around this process, because we believe that nutrient application is one of the biggest risks for PED and other diseases. We'll talk a little bit about our filtered farms. We've also installed some new technology on those, new pump outs, so that a pump never goes into the facility now. But we've got 90% of our system that's older facilities that we have to put a pump into a pit, and we think that's a tremendous risk, so we try to mitigate that risk as much as possible. Results, we took the system negative somewhere around late summer of 2014, so we were successful in eliminating PED. We have had 3 breaks since then, most likely through animal introduction, but a good track record. And you know, people kind of forget about PED, but I don't know what you guys see in Kansas, but every fall and every winter in Iowa and southern Minnesota, there are a lot of finishing pigs that break with PED. A lot. So it's not gone away. It's still out there. I'd say the risk is as great today as it ever was. When we start having PED coming back from the packing plant, we see it. So it's still there. And then after we had PED, we shut those farms down, and we had some of the best sow farm performance and downstream performance that we ever had in the history of Iowa Select. When we shut them down for PED, we were able to stabilize. I don't know if we eliminated PERS, but we stabilized for PERS. But it was the best performance we ever had. And we had that for about 2 months until that fall. And I don't know if you guys faced it in Kansas or where you may raise pigs, but there was a tough 174 PERS strain that came across Iowa, southern Minnesota. And it was a doozy. And about 80% of our system had wild-type introduction of PERS. And we were kind of starting all over again with PERS. So it was a little bit depressing, but it did demonstrate the potential of what our system could do if we could help and mitigate the introduction of wild-type PERS within our system. So that's where we were. And that's 2014. Our production, we were about 13.5 born alive, 12 or total born, 12.3 born alive, and our wean to market mortality was about 11%. So I was saying it was better than what we did historically at Iowa Select. I'm not saying it was great, but that's where our performance was that fall of 2014. So as you look, and we were kind of at a crossroads as a business. We truly were at a crossroads. There were several things going on, but where we were in 2015, we had 38 sow farms. We had 1 filtered farm, and it was a negative filtered farm that we bought down in southern Iowa that was a multiplier, still is a multiplier. It's got about a 20-year track record of no PERS introduction, so a long track record, and 2 farms with open pen gestation or pen gestation. But we were at a crossroads as a business. We had come through a period of tremendous disruption to the business with what happened to us with PED. But the reality was 2013, 2014, and 2015 were the most profitable years in the history of Iowa Select. You know, we got help by the markets. We got help some by risk management. Our production got pretty good. So we had, you know, some profitability, some profitable years. But we were at a decision standpoint with our business where we had older facilities. Basically, everything was built on the sow farm side from about 1993 to 1998. So you're looking at somewhere between 15 to 20-year-old facilities that had been maintained, and I believe maintained well, but never really remodeled or retooled. We can talk all days about the pros and cons of pen gestation versus crates, but we were getting tremendous pressure from our customers, and we've had the same customers at Iowa Select for a long time, and they were saying we need product derived from open pen gestation sows for us to continue moving forward into the business. And it's a different business situation for everybody. We can debate the science around that, but that's what we were being told. We knew that we had to get better from a health perspective because of the trend and the growing trend and continual trend for judicious use of antibiotics. We were mediocre in performance, but we were profitable. We had good customers that we were selling pigs to that we had long-term relationships with. And because of the new packing plants that were being built in Iowa, the Prestige plant, the Triumph plant, the plant even over in Michigan having ramifications into Iowa, there was a lot of shuffling of pigs. There were people coming to us saying, we want pigs. We need pigs for our plant. So we had a lot of going on within the business. We had some decisions that we had to make as a business. I think the fundamental decision that we made is, we've lived with PERS for a long time. We saw and seen that we can get better performance if we do not have PERS or don't have continual wild type introduction of PERS. And we just made the fundamental decision that we're going to do everything within our power, within the technology that we know today, to try and be different. Okay? I'm not saying we were horrible at biosecurity before or any of those things, but we committed that we were going to try and do everything with our power to be different and to improve. And for us, we felt the biggest piece of the pie was to tackle PERS. Now, we've also tried to tackle mycoplasma, and there's all kinds of things that kill pigs, but that was the focus and a little bit of the focus here. So what did we do? So we went back and we remodeled 18 of our farms with positive pressure ventilation and open pen gestation. And I'll talk a little bit about how we did that. We built 8 new farms with positive pressure ventilation and open pen gestation. We've got another one that we're going to finish this spring. And again, that was the demand with the shifting of pigs around in Iowa. People were coming and saying we need pigs. We built or remodeled our 10 GDUs to positive pressure filtration. We use a little bit different model than Aaron talked about, and maybe a different model than a lot of people do, but we bring in mature or bred gilts into our sow farm. We don't raise them as isoweans on site. I think the belief that we have is the transport risk for a wean pig is the same transport risk for a mature animal, whether she is ready to breed or is she bred. So we believe the transport risk is the same, so that's the model that we utilize. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to concentrate that gilt development in what we call a GDU that had focus management on HNS and focus management on gilt breeding. I think the thing that I believe, if the gilts are only 20% of your herd or 15% of your herd, you're only paying 15% of your attention to it. But if all you do is work in a GDU every day, all your focus is on HNS, all your focus is on breeding gilts. That's the model we used. So far, we've tried 35 PERS closures. It feels like 35,000, but we'll talk a little bit about that. We built about 600,000 new spaces, and we're in the process of building a GTC. So where did we do it? We did it in Iowa. And Joel asked the question, how did we do it? But maybe the bigger question that Clayton alluded to is why we did it in Iowa. So to talk a little bit about the open pen gestation, we wanted to develop a system that we think we could manage. And basically our system, there's nothing unique about it, but we transfer groups after confirmed pregnancy into about pens of 12. One thing that is maybe a little bit unique about our system, that integrity of 12 animals per pen is maintained all the way from the nursery, through the grower, through the GDU, and into the sow farm. So and we kind of decided on 12 because that's how our nurseries, our growers, and our GDUs were set up. So I believe that there's some scientific literature that would say that animals, and pigs especially, become familiar with that group size, and we maintain that group size basically from the nursery all the way into the sow farm. The feeding area, typical stanchion, 12 animals per pen, and you can see that. I think the one thing that was where we were successful with the transition to pen gestation, we put a lot of emphasis on the existing managers that we had, the system that we had of training to those managers to move to open pen gestation. And about 70% of our sow farm managers have been with Iowa Select over 15 years. So at the sow farm level, we have tremendous retention of our sow farm managers, and they were used to the way that they had always did things. There were some of those guys that had worked at Sow 1 for 20 years and had done the same thing for 20 years, but they were willing to embrace and transition to pen gestation. And those guys were the ones that did it. Our sow farm managers really embraced. They actually felt like it was something new, something that they wanted to embark on, and they did a tremendous job of training and instilling that process within the system. So, it's been successful from the standpoint that our productivity has improved, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think the success was the staff and really the sow farm managers implemented and got the people to buy into that transition. What did we do from a facility standpoint? And Clayton talked about this. We transitioned and remodeled those farms that we filtered to positive pressure filtration, and that's how we built our new farms. I think one of the, there's different ways to filter, whether it be negative or positive filtration. I think the two things that we felt were why we went the route we did, one, we didn't think that a bailout system, at least in our geography, was going to be successful. Okay? We just, like I said, we don't have a purge season. It's throughout the year. So we didn't think a bailout system or a system where we took it out of filtration in the summer would be successful. We didn't feel from a climate standpoint, based upon our experience with our one negative filtered farm down in southern Iowa, that we wanted to do the negative filtration year-round. And so that was one of the reasons, just from a better environment during the summer. The other thing is the concept of positive filtration that's demonstrated here. Basically, we bring in air through a cool cell, goes through a pre-filter bank, then the MERV filters. It's brought up into the attic, and through the controlling of the hydrostatic or the positive pressure, the air is pushed out of the facility through these shutters in theory, but the air also finds all the cracks that may occur. And especially in those older facilities, we remodeled those facilities, but we believe that there would be a risk with negative filtration of leakage, the maintenance on that, and so we went with a positive filtered concept. So these are the filters, the type of filter banks that we have, actuated inlets, and these are the planks or the shutters where the air is pushed out of the facility. So that's the concept. Clayton had pictures of positive filtration as well, but that's the concept of positive filtration. This would be the plastic grid that Clayton talked about. We have had issues with these plastic grids cracking, and we've had to go back and fix and try to fix those. That plastic was not designed for minus 60 degree wind chill like we had last week. We switched to stainless steel grids on our new farms, and so going forward we'll have stainless steel grids. But the filters fit in there. This would be a filter bank in one of our new bigger farms. On our retrofitted farms, we couldn't put the dormers or where the air comes through on the ends. our buildings are too narrow to be able to maintain the pressure. So we had to put a side dormer to bring the air in so it ties into the roof line. And we would have 2 of these on each of the buildings that we have. So on the new farms, like Clayton showed you, they're on the gable ends or on the end of the building. On the retro farms, they're on the side. So that's the concept of positive pressure filtration, and that's what we did on our retrofit farms as well as our new farms. I think the things that we found, one were the grids. Definitely, the filters work. Okay, I mean, there's all kinds of scientific literature saying that they're going to get 99.9% of the PERS virus particle, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that technology. What'll get you is making sure that the filters are working from the standpoint that they're staying up to MERV rating. So you have to have a rigorous testing program of those filters. We built our own filter trailer that we can take to the sites and test the trailer or the filters. And there's differences in the degradation of filters, whether they're at the top of the dormer, the bottom of the dormer, which direction the wind is. So that we learned all of those things. The plastic grids, the installation of those filters is critical. You have to have 100% integrity of where they seal up to that grid. And when we first started, we had issues not getting those filters installed properly. It's an arduous task of installing 4,000 or 5,000 filters. And so we've got a process now to ensure that when we're going through and either building a new farm or replacing filters, that we're testing those rigorously. We actually take a little mini sand blaster. We take colored sand. We blow it around that plastic frame and look to see if there's any drift of that sand at a pressure that would be 100 times of what you would have of normal air coming through, to see that that is sealed properly. And we do inspection after inspection after inspection of that filtration. So we talk about, and I think Grant alluded to that, you know, there's mixed results with filtration, you know, and he talked and alluded a little bit to that. It's not easy. Filtration works, but you really got to ensure that they're installed properly, they're maintained properly, the grids are maintained properly. It's a lot of work. We did the Offsite Gilt breeding units so that we could enter a healthy sow farm. We did a lot of Gilt into the sow farm. We did a lot of things to change how we entered animals and different products or different supplies into our sow farms. You guys, many of you may have seen these. These are biochambers. They have an ultraviolet light. Sorry. They have an ultraviolet light, but everything that goes into the farm that doesn't go through the D&D supply room, lunches, semen. We use PCAI, so we have semen bags. They go through there. Any products, they go through there. It's about a 5-minute cycle. The research is pretty good as long as you maintain the UV chamber, because the lights do get bad, they get dirty, so you got to maintain those as well, that you eliminate the risk of bringing in PERS or PED into the farm. And you know, when you think about it, we bring a lot of those types of products into the farm, okay? And so we felt that step was necessary. Bench entry system. So this is one of our new farms. I don't know if you guys see some of our stuff or on Facebook and things. This is a farm that all of our offices aren't this nice, but this is a farm that we bring in customers and people from the outside to look at pig farming, people from Costco, Walmart, those types of things. And we really want to try, and we're very open and transparent about that. We do about 50 tours a year to retailers, dietitians, different groups. But we want to have a good experience there, and this is one of those new farms. So it is nice. It'd be nicer than our office. But one thing on the bench entry system, you know, I've been into a lot of farms, and, you know, I'm a big guy, and in some of those farms, you almost have to be a gymnast or contortionist, is that what it's called? When you, to try and fit through a small, at least I would, to fit through a small space, make sure my feet don't touch the floor, make sure I stay clean, because they're not the nicest facilities. I think the message is there, if you want people to comply with a process, make it easy, okay? Make your bench entry big enough, make it a place where they can hang their coat, a place where they can put their shoes, that they don't have to really work at it. It makes it easy. And we'll talk about compliance in a bit. You know, it doesn't have to be this nice. This is a little bit overboard, but if you're going to get people to do something, I think the thing that we really try to emphasize is make it easy. Make it easy to get done. I think one of the things that we've also invested in, and this is very difficult to see, but this is how we manage our system from an information standpoint. And this is just one example of a screen that we have, but we have an internal program that we call Tools. It's our own internal platform, and everybody within our business has access to Tools, and you can do it with a phone in your pocket. And what that allows you access it to is it has all of the information around the health status of our farms. All of our data on a daily basis is inputted into that Tools. Daily mortality, sow farm records. You order feed off of it. You look at biosecurity, diagnostics off of that. It's all on one portal. It's all portable. We have high-speed internet at all of our sow farms. So everybody in the company has access to the same information, whether it be at a computer at your desk, a computer at the sow farm, or it can be remote on your phone. But the point here is things change when it comes to health status, and the better able that we're able to disseminate that information quickly, we can catch things, whether that be diagnostic results, changes in the health status of farms. Everybody has immediate access to that, and that's how we do entry, whether that be an R&M person, a health services person, a production person, to ensure that we're mitigating the risk of people entry from one health status to another. Okay, training. I know a lot of talk about training, but I think the thing that we try to do to ensure is we make it simple, we make it frequent, we use videos, we use a lot of pictures, we have things in English and Spanish. So from a training standpoint, we try to keep it as simple and as frequent as possible. Okay. One other thing that we do at the sow farms, we have video cameras in all of our sow farms. Okay, we started this process in 2016. We put it in all of our sow farms and all of our GDUs. And this is an example of the footage that we have from those sow farms. And this is a transition area, kind of what Clayton was showed from the video. It'd be the same setup. And you know, when we installed these, the goal was, one, the customers wanted it from an animal well-being perspective. They're used to those in packing plants and processing facilities, so that was helpful from communication within. But secondly, this has been the most effective training tool that I've ever been involved with within the pig business. The sow farm managers, the supervisors have really embraced this. We have a system that it's easy to do video reviews. They get together on a monthly basis to look at and improve upon that. I was very hesitant when we installed those, just from the standpoint of people being on camera. Would they get used to it and not really care about their behaviors? But we utilize these video reviews on a monthly basis to ensure compliance, train new people, and it's gone well from the standpoint of implementation. How much time? 2 or 3 minutes? Okay. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, so that won't get us any quicker. Okay. I'll skip through this. So, the question I get asked is, is it work? Is the filtration working? So this is where we're at over the last 18 months or so through the first part of this year. This would be through about week 2 of this year. The blue line is our PER status of our filtered farms. The red line would be the PERS status of our non-filtered farms. And you can see in terms of PERS negative, we continue to grow the number of PERS negative farms that we have. We're not at 100%. As we get new testing techniques for processing fluids and wean pigs and those types of things, you know, what we thought took 35 weeks, we're now getting 40, 45 weeks, 50 weeks to get farms negative. We're still getting there. We're still pushing on that. A couple of performance slides. This is born alive of our filtered farms versus our non-filtered farms. You can see in 2017 when we started, we were at about 13. We're up averaging about 14, or we were at 12. This is born alive, not total born. We were at 12. We're at about 13.6, 13.7 on about 120,000 sows that are filtered. Our non-filtered, we're down closer around 12.9 to 13. Pigs wean per sow filtered. I think two things here. We've seen a nice improvement, and we weren't very good when we started. Like I said, we were at about 10.5. We're close to 12. But I think the thing that we've really seen since we've got these farms stabilized over the last year is the consistency that we're seeing in terms of pigs weaned per sow in comparison to what we're seeing on our non-filtered farms. And our non-filtered farms would be what we've seen historically within Iowa Select for many years. So if we look at our filtered farms versus our non-filtered farms, we've got about an 8.2% improvement in wean pig production and about a 7.6% improvement in market pig production since we began that process. So I'll end it with that. Any questions?